Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a vodcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I am very privileged to welcome a very accomplished lady from Gujrat, Mrs. Janki Vasant. Janki, welcome to the show.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Janki is the founder of Samvedna, and she is the recipient of the Nari Shakti Puruskar Award from the President of India in 2017. So before we speak of Samvedna, when I was reading about you, you have a statement which says, if you have a purpose, means will follow. Help me understand this, maybe with an example or an anecdote.
Since the day I started, or even before that I started my journey with Samvedna, this has come true.
Okay.
So it was a very organic way in which my journey with social service began.
Mm-hmm.
We had earthquake in Gujrat in 2000, and back then my husband put up a camp, and just being his wife, I used to go there with him. And of course, I was concerned. And very organically, I ended up becoming the overall coordinator of this camp. And we had 700 people each day stay with us. And loads of activities happening with them, managing the volunteers. And this continued for 2 months.
Okay.
Now, during this time, the day we began, there was a big open land where we thought we should put up the tents. The tents were in order. And then in the evening, my husband, he announced on the television, live TV, that we are putting up a camp. So all those who wish could come and stay here. Those who have tall buildings or have no homes to stay with, they can come here. And we started to think that how are we going to get the beds, the beddings, etc.
Right.
And because, after this, the next morning people started pouring in, calls started coming to register and stay with us. And another story began, we started getting calls from donors who thought that, here we could donate mattresses, etc. So, and then each day there was one need which comes, either it is about nutrition, or food to give, or to serve, a number of people coming in. And, we were a handful of us and volunteers pouring in from the other end. When my journey began with Samvedna, the same thing happened. There was not a whole lot of goal setting done.
Wonderful.
Or that, this year and after 5 years here, when it began very organically. So when we thought of education or, doing something with the women, or for that matter, we wanted to add value to the English education, the right person would call up. That, hey, this is what I am looking for. Is there a scope of this in your organization? And it worked out. So just day before yesterday, we have started working in the rural area, and with our scholarship students. They're very brilliant, but the problem is English. So now we were facing this. They are going to higher classes, colleges, and they face this lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem due to not good communication English. And I was thinking in my head that, okay, whom to rope in? And I get a call from a friend who is a leading English speaking, they run English speaking classes on a very big scale. And she's like that we're doing a whole lot of things online at this time. So if there's any opportunity with Samvedna, we would love to take a batch specially for your students.
Amazing.
So this is what happens. This is where I call. I say that when you have a purpose, of course, a clarity with purpose is very important.
Very well said.
And then the universe conspires to make it happen.
Very, very nicely explained. So, now let's talk about Samvedna. For our viewers and listeners, tell us what Samvedna means.
So Samvedna started with my passion for children and my deep-seated drive for nation building and a trust that education empowers.
Right.
So I started working in the slums, started with non-formal education. I used to be a program called SSY. So we started doing a whole lot of workshops with children. From there, from the community, I learned a lot. And based on the needs that arose from the community, we started our projects. So the first one which we started was Akshara, which is about remedial, because I learned about the need for formal education, empowering children with formal education, not just non-formal. Though we were investing our time without, any gain specific, yet I realized that I would want the final, it to be productive, my time invested productive. So we partnered with municipal schools and we started a remedial program. That is called, that is what we call Akshara.
Okay.
From there, we learned that though there were a lot of children who were very good in studies, at some point around 7th or 8th, after the primary education was got over or about to get over, they dropped out.
Okay.
And those very brilliant kids could have made a future for themselves, for their entire family. But because of immediate concerns of earning money and financial constraints of parents, they couldn't study further. They had to be dropped out.
Okay.
So we started this project called Eklavya, which is for scholarships.
Right.
It started with just 4 children whom we identified, and now they are more than 300 children. And we started with just identifying from one particular community or school we were associated with. And now we have partnered with municipal schools. We have a whole structure of taking open entrance test of Samvedna, inducting them for inviting them for the panel interviews, then visiting their homes, doing a home visit to actually find out their authentic status, and then finally inducting them, doing their counseling, doing a lot of workshops with them, not just support them by giving a check called scholarship,
right,
but actually completely hand-holding them. Also, in the end, giving them a mentor after grade 11.
Very interesting.
So this is our project for scholarships.
Okay. So you said you started with Akshara, then there was Eklavya, but there are 3 other initiatives, isn't it? Sattva, Pathshala, and Udgriv.
Correct.
Tell me about these also.
So when we work with children and we want to bring about a change, we can't do it without reaching out to the parents, especially the mothers. We have to consider the family as a unit. And that's where we realized that we need to do something with the mothers. Now, when we are doing a whole lot of things to empower women, and giving them skills is one of the very, very important things.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Udgriv is a word which in Sanskrit is used as an adjective for a peacock.
I see. Okay.
So, if you, as soon as you think of a peacock, you think of someone with self-pride, confidence. So our vision was that our young mothers should be that, and skills would help them because maybe they've lost the bus called education, and yet this is something which could help them, that status of empowerment.
Fascinating.
So that is our skill program.
Fascinating. So, you started Samvedna, and in your own words, you say if you have a purpose, beings will follow. But tell me, what have been some of your challenges as you've built this amazing institution?
So before I had challenges, a lot of challenges,
Sure.
but I don't want to miss out the other 2 projects.
Okay.
So one is Sattva.
Uh-huh.
So through our initial journey, after about 5 years, another thing we learned from the experiential learning. Of course, they are out there in researches.
Right.
But we learned that a whole lot of children, in spite of giving them the best of the platform through education, were being dropouts. And they were not because of the environment, poverty, etc., all other issues. One important problem that they faced was when either they were below the age of 5 or infants, or they were in their mother's womb as a pregnant or lactating mother, they were either undernourished or malnourished. And if that was that status at that early an age, then things were bad for lifetime. So there was inadequate development of brain. And if our focus was education, we were working here. We had to start from here.
Right.
Because a whole lot of population, 47% of our young India is malnourished as per the latest statistics. And that's really alarming. It's like a silent emergency, which nobody sees.
Right.
So we started working in the space of malnutrition with two focuses. One, feeding children who were malnourished with the right micronutrient diet. And second, educating the mothers around hygiene, good food, bad food, and health around their children.
Very interesting.
And the fourth is Vasant Pathshala. So while I was working with the city and around the city, the slums mainly, we have a farm, and my husband's into agriculture, so we are very much into around the villages. And I realized the gap, especially in those villages which are not too far from the city, just like 45, 50 kilometers away from the city. And yet there were huge gaps in education, in health, in how the social implications around these two, especially with children and women. And I realized that sitting in my very secure corner, I was getting into a comfort zone with Samvedna in the cities, and a whole lot of things now happen in the cities. A whole lot of volunteers, NGOs, government interventions, but nobody wants to get out of the comfort zone and give that same quality to the villages. And I thought this was what is needed. And now I need to kind of diversify and make that step, which is out of my comfort zone. We started working in the villages. We have a rural school, and we've identified to start with 25 villages and do the same malnutrition program, Udgriv program in the villages. Yeah.
That's terrific. I mean, and all 5 initiatives are so different and yet so closely interlinked with one another. So fabulous. So now tell me about some of your challenges as you built this.
Getting to my challenges, I think in a country like India, especially in a country like India, as an individual who is a woman, a wife, a daughter-in-law, we have our own set of challenges, balancing and prioritizing between work and home, especially when your work is voluntary.
Right.
That becomes a higher challenge.
Right.
But well, thanks to the phenomenal support I've had from my family.
I'm sure.
Another thing is, this India faces, India has 2 faces which coexist, the haves and the have-nots.
Correct.
They are distinctly different, independent from each other, and yet very interwoven. I very intensely live in both the worlds at the same time. So during the day, I'm with my, my children, my women, thinking about, striving for, and feeling closely their share of abusive life. In the evening, it's my comfortable life and lavish social circle. These conflicting lives at times create significant personal turmoil and anguish. This process is ongoing, and I must share here that helps me evolve as a human being.
Wonderful.
It brings me closer to myself, connect to self, and with the higher purposes in society and in the world.
Very well said. Very well said. So, I've also wanted to ask you, there are so many children who have been through your programs, through your institution. You must be tracking how these children are doing as they are getting older. Would you like to share with us one or two instances of how children have flowered and prospered?
Yeah, so I like to say that there was this beautiful movie called Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
So I like to say that not all win a lottery, as in Slumdog Millionaire.
True.
So one of our child student, now he's a man, he's married, he has a child, Deepak. He was a sweeper's son and is today in Air Force.
Wow.
Now Bharat, a daily wage earner's son, is today an engineer. And this is just one example. There are 7 engineers out of our Eklavya project. And Shruti, a house help's daughter, is now an architect.
Amazing.
So such children now are into medicine, they're teachers, they are working with other NGOs, earning hefty, good salaries. One child who did MBA finance, right now he is assistant manager in Kotak. So, and for this is education. Now, if we go to the nutrition project, Pooja, one of our 4 sisters, who is stunted and severely malnourished child, is one of our 700 malnourished infants adopted through Sattva. And, she could undergo her surgery of heart because she was undernourished and underweight, she could not. So there are many stories.
Fabulous. Yeah. And you must be feeling so proud to see your children, as you said, growing and prospering so much. I mean, more power to you. I mean, fantastic.
I feel very happy. It's like you see your children prosper and you feel happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice. Very nice. So one more question on Samvedna before I move to the next segment. In the last 18 odd months, the pandemic has affected the entire world. What has been the impact of the pandemic on Samvedna and all your children?
Huge. Pandemic has affected everyone, and it affected, so to say, the organization in a very bad way, because all the funds were going to the PM fund, and the big CSRs were, diverting their funds there, and all our work had doubled.
Okay.
We had to do so much more. So one, starting from our parents, around them, the communities who were engaged with daily labor, whether they are farmers or they are construction site workers or all these people, auto drivers. So they were without work. So giving them, we stepped up and, gave the ration, the grocery kits month. And to give was also how to do it. So I think this devastating challenge of pandemic also opened a lot of windows of opportunity. So one opportunity was creating leaders from our students themselves.
Okay.
From our either students or women. Because if they are staying in a particular community, we connected with them through phones and we trust them. They know the values underlining and highlighted by Samvedna.
Right.
So we said, why don't you do a Reiki of around your community and tell us what exactly you need, how many families are in need. And we partnered with Municipal Corporation, and they gave us the vehicle support. And we would get the kits loaded, reach to this particular child. So there were about 7 to 8 different spots where our kids would reach. And the children themselves, the older kids, they would manage the distribution, take pictures and share. So it was a social leadership. which sprout up. And I think that is one of the main purposes of Samvedna.
Fabulous.
To be Samvedna.
Wonderful. How
and
nice.
Secondly, digital literacy.
Mm-hmm.
Digital literacy evolved because we stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
In our rural school. We stepped up to online education, immediately learned that most of them did not have smartphones. We connected with a CSR. Fortunately, we got tablets. We gave them tablets. And it gave me goosebumps the day our entire school, including parents, like mainly parents, were on the PTM on Zoom. Because we created videos in Gujarati about how to start, what to click, and how to start Zoom and operate through Zoom.
Very
now
nice.
we are experts. The children, they know very well how to block and this and everything. So they are completely, so though a percentage, because of lack of Wi-Fi in the villages, is not able to get on it. We also started micro schooling. So our teachers used to go when in between first and the second surge, there was a window open when we could actually step into villages properly. We thought it was important because the value of SEL, social emotional learning, everyone understood. And so one other opportunity brilliantly opened up at Samvedna was we had almost over 100 volunteers who connected through our virtual summer classes, our virtual school through the pandemic.
Wow.
And starting from Canada to Peru to UK and Puerto Rico, Dubai, and of course India, we had volunteers.
Wow.
And we had Indian volunteers who were translating for our children. And just that, the child who is sitting in the slum of Ahmedabad or in a rural village where probably has not even come to Ahmedabad city, the window to the world opened up.
Amazing.
They learned about the world through these tough times.
Fantastic. So I don't have too much time left, but I've got to ask you a couple of questions for you personally. You're giving back so much of your time and energy to Samvedna and building an amazing organization. What are some of the core values you believe in?
So I think first would be authenticity. Second, which is very much in me, is inclusion. Inclusion at all levels, whether it is around indiscrimination, not discriminating between our beneficiaries, but inclusion of volunteers, the haves and the have-nots. And third is trust. You have to operate from trust.
Very interesting. So I have time for two more quick questions. My next question is, what does success mean to Janki?
So success is a very, very dicey word. For us, for me personally, it would mean not a horizontal scaling, but a vertical scaling.
Okay.
So there always were times when, like I went to different schools of leadership and everyone is talking about scalability and reaching out to more. But for me, more important is actually seeing the change, and you are creating a holistic change in that child and creating an ecosystem which makes that change which we are trying to bring a sustainable and has a deeper impact.
Okay. Very interesting. And my last question, which is a follow-on from success, is you keep giving back so much. And as you said yourself, this is voluntary work that you're doing. Who or what inspires you to keep giving back so much?
My children inspire me a lot. The women we work with, in spite of so many hurdles they have in their own lives, when they come back every day with such happy faces and be happy with those small learnings they have each day and small successes they have each day, that inspires me and wants me to constantly go on.
Amazing.
Just the other day, I saw a little baby, maybe 6 months old, sleeping on the tarmac near our school. And the parents were working and they never even cared about, they did not think that there was anything wrong in that. And as soon as the baby would get up, they would give. So when that child woke up and came running to our school and sat with our children and started having the food they were eating. And when our children are open to have them inclusion in them. One of the schools we had a special child. And she used to come. The mother was so dedicated. She used to bring the special child to a normal municipal school. But the children not laughing at her or rejecting her, but helping her, tying her shoelace or getting her books out of the bag. When our children learn the values that they learn from the school, I think that inspires me the most.
Fantastic. Janki, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for taking me down this incredible journey of Samvedna and sharing with me, so many of your thoughts as you built this organization. Thank you again and good luck.
I should thank you. And, I'm privileged to be on the platform of brand called You. Thank you, Ms. Pastor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.